Assuming that you know all the different moves in this set, I'm just going to be going over how to use them efficiently. I'm not going to be going over them like, oh, this is this is that. All I'm going to say is look at these. If you don't know them, learn them, and learn about the hero specifics as well, especially hidden stance. Know about Way of the Shark and your cancel recoveries, okay? Read these, they're very important and they do help quite a bit, just knowing about the game. This is everything you're going to need, and everything I do is here. You go look at it. I'll probably stick them on up here. You'll be able to see them when we go into something. Okay, so for the first thing, we're going to be talking about the parry changes that happened. So even now, a couple months later, I noticed that some Nobushis don't know about the parry changes and how like to maximize your damage. So for instance here, when you do a heavy parry, you want to do first off some kind of bleed attack. So either Cobra Strike, which is done in the top right, as you can see all the moves, or Viper's Retreat. Now there is a bit of a problem with using these moves. As you can see, these bleeds don't actually stack. So using them again doesn't always work. Sometimes they do stack, but like there, they aren't stacking. And I understand that Peacekeepers getting a rework on that, so then they do stack. However, this doesn't do much more. There are more efficient ways of getting damage. And even just a normal light does roughly more damage than what that'll do. The key to actually maximizing your damage on that is if the target's already bleeding, let me just apply the bleed, do a Sidewinder, because that will apply a lot more damage, doing 30 on top of the 26, as the bleed isn't replaced by the Sidewinder. So bleed your opponent first on a heavy, and if you get another one, do a Sidewinder. If the target's already bleeding, or just throw one out, just throw a Sidewinder out, doing massive amounts of damage. Obviously you can just throw normal Sidewinders out anyway, but it's not the best damage, as it does 25 and Cobra Strike and Viper's Retreat do 26. It's one damage number, but it can drastically change the game. And then obviously you've got your big punishes for when the target's already bleeding, right there. Mess around with this, it does take a while to get used to, and sort of recognizing that it's a bleed that's been applied and now you've got to do the next one. Another way, if you're not too confident because you might not get the timing right for your Sidewinders, you can zone. It takes a lot of stamina away, it does a little less damage, but it still does more than adding another bleed. It's very important to know. So the next one is on a light parry, for instance. It's the same as it was before, just a top heavy, doing 38 damage. If the target's already bleeding, you'll do 46. Pretty simple, but nothing has actually changed about that. If I get the target to already bleed, as you can see, 46, plus obviously the 26 that's already applied by the bleed. So the next few moves in the kit are obviously the hidden stance, the poke the nest, and the death rattle form. I'll be showing those off and how they all work. Because they all actually work with hidden stance. I've done it in that order, so you know hidden stance is the first move, and then you can chain into these. So as you can see here, hidden stance has a dodge property. I'm dodging this move. Obviously, I have my stamina off. It takes a considerable amount, and you will lose a lot of stamina. But if I stay in it, I'm still affected by the hit. It's just that animation that gets you into hidden stance, makes you immune to pretty much everything, other than Warlord's charge. But Raider's Stampede Charge and Shigoki's Hug, you'll be able to hidden stance it. Unblockables, you can hidden stance it. Everything in the game you can hidden stance. And me and a couple of my mates have been saying that no one's really seen other Nobushis dodge stuff with hidden stance, because it's a great counter-attacking move. It's something that really is useful, and I would recommend everyone start using it. Obviously, getting the timings down is important. It's the same as your parry timings. Getting them down for your lights will be harder than your heavies, but the heavies actually give you the enemy more of a punish than hidden stance in a light. So for instance, one of the follow-ups is doing a double light, which is obviously poke the nest. Poke the nest is the triple light combo, but by doing that, the hidden stance already counts as the first light, so you just do the second one, and if it hits, you get a guaranteed third one. You can read that in the hero specifics if you don't know what I mean. The third light in any chain is guaranteed if the second one hits. And the hidden stance counts as the first light, then second light, third light. That's how that works. Next one is Death Rattle form. That's the main chain you're going to be using as an Nobushi now. It used to be that it was double light because that did loads of damage, but with the recent nerf, and by recent I mean like 3 months ago, we're going to be using a different tactic, and that is doing a heavy into a kick into a bleed, because that confirms 50 damage. If the target is already bleeding, it'll do more. Obviously, if the kick is... Sorry, not the kick. If the heavy is blocked, then you won't do the 50 damage. You'll only do 26, 28, depending on chip damage, which is the number when an enemy blocks an attack, they still take damage. So if I show you here, look, I did 6 chip damage there. So obviously 6 on top of the 24, so you'll do like 30 damage. 32 actually, because it's a 26 bleed. That's important to know. So you'll still do quite a lot of damage just for pretty much turtling, just following up on a thingy. But the key thing to note here is that the kick in this, when doing a heavy into a kick from hidden stance, that kick is guaranteed if the heavy hits. There are only 3 different circumstances that's not guaranteed, and I'll talk about them in a minute. But I would recommend doing all of this in the training arena. So for instance, hidden stance, heavy, kick. You need to kick instantly. If you're not kicking instantly, you're not going to be able to do it, because people will be able to dodge away. Oh, I did the wrong one. Kick instantly and they won't be able to get out of it unless they're Raider, because Raider has amazing dodge recovery and he'll get away with it and dodge right out of that kick. The other thing is if a character has a deflect, like Valkyrie, Conqueror, or any assassin has a deflect, they'll be able to get out of it. Also Kensei has one. They can use that against you. And finally is other Nobushis. They can use Swift Retreat or Swift Recoil to get out of it, which I'll show you later. So other than those 3 instances, that is a guaranteed kick after the heavy lands, guaranteeing roughly 50 damage without a bleed. If they're already bleeding, a lot more. Good to know. The next one's obviously the kick. You can go straight into a kick from hidden stance if I just wait. It's very unsuspecting as no one really uses this. This is not the primary function of hidden stance, because a lot of people will do heavies or double lights. Doing a kick can get the better of your opponent though, as a lot of them don't expect it and aren't ready to dodge from hidden stance. Even I'm not sometimes. It's great for opening up turtles, especially probably the best for this is Lawbringer. But if Lawbringer does a shove, you can't actually get the double light off, but you can now kick because of the new kick increase from the start of Season 5. Hey. So that's pretty much the parry changes and hidden stance. We're going to be moving on to something else. So these moves are really weird. Swift Retreat was added to the game in Season 5, and Swift Recoil was added into the game from the very beginning. But it was never that useful, and to be honest, it really isn't still. There's only one purpose I ever use Swift Retreat, and I'll go over that now. Okay, first off, you want a Nobushi. This is only for mirror matches, and I find it very useful, because remember on how we were talking about that kick is guaranteed on anyone but Raider, or someone that deflects. Well, Nobushi also gets away with it. If I show you here in the arena settings, not the arena settings, the opponent settings. So, if I get her to do a heavy into a kick, right? Let me show you here. Imagine it comes from hidden stance. She kicks straight away. Oh, I got a bit of frame right there. Whoops. Notice that I Swift Retreat out of the kick. Swift Recoil, sorry. Makes me immune. So, this is the only time you're ever going to get away from the hidden stance into kick. I can't actually make her do the hidden stance into heavy into kick. So you'll just have to imagine that it's a hidden stance from that. But believe me, it works just as well. And then you can obviously choose the right time, which does take some getting used to throw out the Swift Retreat from the swift recoil, which is just a it's just a Viper's retreat that is initiated 200 milliseconds after swift recoil. That's it. And obviously there you can get a free bleed, which is quite nice. That is very useful, and the thing is, they'll try and open you up like that, but now you won't take 50 or 26 damage. You'll now just be able to get away with it like that. The second you see that hidden stance into heavy, do it every time, because chances are they're either going to follow up with a kick or nothing else, because believe it or not, there isn't much you can do after that. Hidden stance, yes, is very useful, but you can't do much with a follow-up. You can do your heavy, but because it counts as the first chain, you can't do a second heavy, because you don't have 3 heavy chains. Doing the double light will pretty much get you killed, and you can't dodge out of it. So really they're forced to kick, which makes the swift retreat very useful in situations like that. So you can do that, even if an Nobushi just throws out a normal heavy, or you think they're going to kick from something and you block it, you can just dodge back, very useful. However, can sometimes play in their favour if they're wanting distance for a feint. For example, if I'm over here, let me swift retreat. I'm not further enough back. So if I do that, for example, and then they could kick into it from a delay, right? It could work like that, and that's the reason they want you to swift retreat. I don't know, it depends how you look at it, but that is the best way of dealing with a mirror. Waiting for that hidden stance heavy, swift retreating out of it and doing some damage. That's the best way to deal with it, and I recommend using it all the time. So I'm going to be going over a couple of the moves just to sort of give you an idea of what they should do for the newer people. I understand I should have gone over this first, but I wanted to go over the Season 5 changes primarily, and then talk about how to actually play her primarily. So first off, the poke the nest is rather useless. Like we said, we talked about hidden stance and how that's poke the nest, even though it doesn't show it up there, but it is. The best way of doing it, which doesn't work as well anymore, but you can miss the first light and then delay it. Look how long you can delay it. You can pretty much not do the second light for a good second, and it sometimes throws off the easier player. So let's say you're playing new, you're new to Nobushi, delaying that second light will be very good. Obviously delaying it too long will cause it to not be in the chain, but you can delay it for a long time. Very useful, would recommend learning how to delay that properly, because technically there's also 50-50 you can do with it. For example, delaying it can get you a free kick sometimes. So if you do that and then they parry it, for example, now what you can do is do one and kick, because now they'll be expecting a second light to parry and they won't be ready to dodge. You can delay that just as long, if not longer, or you know, you could just feint your guard break like I did, like a really cool person. Not feint, sorry, whiff. Hiss and Bite is your light heavy combo, sorry, there we go, your light heavy combo. It's good for parry bait. I would open up with a light into a heavy feint guard break. This is a good opener on newer players or players that seem to be quite parry heavy, because it seems like you're going for a poke the nest, you know, with the one light, two light into a third, but you're doing the one into a heavy feint guard break, and that was not heavy feint guard break. Obviously there, you'll do a heavy feint guard break, hopefully get them in a parry. That's like the only use I can ever really find that for, is a good opener for someone that's very parry heavy or just parry heavy in general. Death Rattle form is your heavy combo. This can be changed. This can actually be chained into Viper's Retreat as well, and we'll go over that. But what I would do is, if I get a guard break, for example, if they dodge and I get a guard break, I'll do that into that. I'll do a one heavy into another heavy, maybe feint guard break it if they try and dodge again, something like that. This is something that a lot of Nobushis use, but there's a cool way around this actually, and you can kind of 50-50 it. So let's say for the first time you so where is it? There it is. So you do the first heavy, for example, first heavy into a kick, because again people are expecting that second heavy, so they'll move their guard, right? You know, the second heavy's come in, into the guard break, you know, I'll get ready for that, but what they won't know is that you're going to go into a kick straight afterwards, which will throw them off a bit. That's something you can use, but it's not that effective anymore. Neither is chaining the second into another one, so a lot of people used to do that into the second heavy, but feint, so that into a heavy, feint into something else. It doesn't quite work as well, but it's there if you want. If you want to use it, feel free, but I would not recommend doing the second heavy feint into another move, especially a dodge move, because yeah, they're fast, but they're predictable and I wouldn't recommend it. Those are the only few reasons I would use Poke the Nest, Hits and Bite, and Death Rattle for them. I don't really see another use for them, so I wouldn't use them other than for those three scenarios. I just sort of want to mention that the Slithering Thrust and the Coiling Slash are absolutely useless unless you're in team game modes. Do not use these as openers in 1v1s because they're easily parried and they don't actually offer anything good. I just did a zone and I'll talk about that next, but don't do these. They're really predictable, as in you'll get parried because people see this and it's reactable. So the zone attack can be done by pressing the heavy and the light button at the same time. There you go. That will initiate what I consider two parts. You've got your initial hit into a bleed attack. A lot of people think that that second part of it is a light attack. It's not. Don't be confused. If you parry that second bit, don't do a heavy punish. Don't do a heavy attack because it's not a light parry. It's still considered a heavy. So I see a lot of people messing that up a lot. As well, if you punish the first bit, it's still only a heavy parry. So you'll have to do a light attack or some kind of special move if you're lucky. For us it'd be the Viper's Retreat or the Sidewinder. Something to note is if you're fighting an Nobushi and you parry the second part of the zone, actually I'll show you here. This is something that applies to other people as well, but from what I remember, only Nobushi has this. I'm pretty sure that Gladiator has the same with his zone occasionally, if I get it right. Sometimes the zone is just, if it's at max range, for example. Let's see if we can get it max range. If it does, I'll show you. If not, I'll just explain it. Serious? No, yeah, okay, it seems alright then. What can happen sometimes with Gladiator and other people when fighting Nobushi is the zone is at max range and you can't actually punish it. So for example, when you parry the zone, sometimes you don't always reach with the Viper's Retreat, right? So a way to counter this is to do the Cobra Strike instead, because it's a gap closer. You dodge forward. I recommend if you parry the Gladiator zone, if at max distance, you don't actually reach it. So I would recommend doing the Cobra Strike instead of the Viper's Retreat, because you actually get closer and therefore you'll actually reach them. Just remember that. When fighting a Glad and they do their zone, if you parry that second bit, Cobra Strike, not Viper's Retreat. Same with Nobushi in some circumstances, but I don't know whether they removed it. Okay, so now I just want to talk about max punishes. So we'll get the Nobushi to do heavies, and I'll show you the max punishes for things. Okay, so first off, if they're out of stamina and you grab them, you want to throw into the Cobra Strike mix-up into a top heavy. If you don't know what that move is, go into the move set. It's right here. The Cobra Strike mix-up is a guard break into push kind of thing. I'll show you what I mean. Parry one more. Right, perfect example there. I know this is kind of off topic with mid thing there, but did you see on how the Nobushi put herself out of stamina, but the attack carried on? If something like that happens, for example, if she does a heavy, please to love of God. Alright, fine. Grab again, press the same button twice, into bleed, but you've got to delay that bleed. Sometimes that bleed is a bit iffy, you've just got to wait a minute, just hesitate on the bleed. How I see it is, when you think that you're just a bit late, so when you think you're too late, that's when you do it. It's as she falls, that's when you apply it. And then you get a top heavy from that, doing huge amounts of damage. That does roughly about 60 damage. I think pushing 70. Yeah, it does 72 damage, which is huge. For something like that, you can take down half the health on most characters. I think the only one that... actually, even Shigoki, because his hyper armor drops when you guard break him. So, hyper armor drops, bleed will do more damage, roughly about 33 maybe, and then the heavy will do something like probably about 50 odd because of the hyper armor's down and the opponent's bleeding. You'll do about 80-90 damage on Shigoki. Considering he has 160, it's again more than half his health. So that's something to know for that. So another one is, before, if I can get her to do it, Nobushi did a heavy into another heavy. As you can see, it put her out of stamina there and she falls straight over. The key to getting the max damage is doing a side into a top. So if I let this one hit, and then she does another one. Side into top, it guarantees it. It does 63 damage without gear stats. Very useful. This is all without gear stats, by the way. So this works for everyone. If the attack puts them out of stamina, first off, they can't guard break it. Not guard break it. What am I on about? They can't cancel the attack, so it's a free parry basically. On top of that, as you can see, out of stam, side heavy, top heavy, which you could probably follow up into a kick if you're feeling like lucky, if they won't dodge, kind of thing, so on and so forth. But very useful to know. That's the max punish if you've already done that kind of thing. What I want to show you is the max punish if you are against a wall. If we get near a wall, real quick. Max punish is top heavy into another top heavy into kick into top heavy. That does more than enough damage to really decimate your opponent. 38 plus, what was that, 33 plus 38? It's a lot. Obviously this is very circumstantial. So top heavy, kick, top heavy. That does, what is that maths? I don't know, it's too much damage. It does roughly about 100 damage, just over 100 damage, maybe 110. Because it seems like on how Nobushi's bar of health is, it seems roughly about 110 bars. Well, 110 worth of damage. So another one is actually if Nobushi is bleeding, this does even more damage. If I quickly kill Nobushi. Obviously this applies for all characters. If you guard break them and throw them against a wall, they'll do huge amounts of damage. And like, so if we get over here, right, there we go. She's bleeding. 1, 2. She's dead. She's dead. 46 into 40 into 38 because the bleed ran out. Remember that's the bleed that's run out. That does 86 plus another 46. That does way too much damage. What is that? 132? I'm not. No wait. What is that? 100 and either 22 or 32. Obviously, if you're too far away, you'll miss the wall. But I'll quickly kill her. This is the best max punish you'll get, but it's very rare that it'll actually happen. Just try to remember that. Top heavy, kick, top heavy. Okay. So yeah, it seems like if the target is already bleeding, you won't actually get the 46, but you get roughly about 120 damage. The point is, if the target's already bleeding and you do the triple heavy combo, they'll die The only problem is that kick isn't guaranteed. Remember that the target can dodge the kick if they're quick enough, but it looks like they won't, kind of thing. So depending on what character and what their getting up recovery is. So for example, Orochi's is really fast. He's guaranteed to dodge that kick. Shigoki is quite slow. He might not be able to. Something like that. Those are your max punishes. Obviously on a guard break we talked about the guard break changes for your max punishes. You can go use them. There's not much else to really tell other than fainting. I'm not going to be telling you everything because I kind of want to keep some of the stuff to myself. For example, like option selecting, I might make a completely separate video on it because it's a big topic to talk about. But one good option select is, let's say for, I don't know, who has a... I'm trying to think of someone who you can easily option select. Gladiator's got like a mix up, everyone does, but you can option select it. Same with Centurion. There are a couple people you can option select, and I'll talk about it in a separate video. I don't want to make this too long. I don't want to cover loads of stuff. I'll cover fainting, but that's about it. So first off, you can feint attacks into hidden stance. Heavies you can feint, lights you can feint. I'll show you on this side, it's more clear to see. I'm going in for that light attack there. You can see I do the start up animation and then back up into the hidden stance, right? Same with heavies. You've got to do it right after though. You've got to do light hidden stance, light hidden stance, heavy hidden stance. Oh, I did it even too slow. Heavy hidden stance, heavy hidden stance, light hidden stance. You've got to do it fast, but the thing is the indication still shows up on their screen, so it's good bait. One combo that everyone does, but it's really effective for parry heavy people, is doing the light feint into heavy feint guard break. You can do this a lot. This works a lot on turtles, for example, so they'll think, oh, he's going to do the double light, for example, so I'll do the light feint, double light, right? Oh, he's going to be doing that, let's parry it. But then the next time you do it, you do the light feint into heavy feint guard break, top heavy, you know, into whatever after that, really. So very useful is the light feint into heavy feint guard break. Another one you can do, and let's say if your target isn't falling for that, let's say it's a really campy lawbringer and he's just sitting there with like his dick out, just like sat there jerking behind his shield, or like if it's Conqueror obviously it's a shield, but for example lawbringer will just be there like this, be like, oh hiya, I'm just going to sit here, do nothing. Great thing you can do is light feint into heavy feint into light feint into kick. I messed it up there, but light feint, heavy feint, light feint into kick. Obviously that target's walking backwards because he's stupid, but lawbringer isn't. He's going to just stay still. There you go. That does a lot of stamina damage. If I put my stamina on, you'll be able to see how much it actually takes. It's a huge amount. So if you see here, light feint into heavy feint into light feint into kick, it does nearly all of it, and that wasn't even the kick. It does all of your stamina to get everything out of that. It's 26 damage. This is like your last resort. If I get her against the wall, it'll actually land. It's a lot. It's a lot of stamina. But if it's against a turtle, it's worth it. It really is. If I get her into this corner, I'll show you again, just because I keep messing up. Light feint into heavy feint, light feint into kick. Again, big turtle mode kind of thing. Quite useful if you do if you actually correctly do the light feint. So sometimes I'm skipping out on that light feint, as you've probably seen. People are joining my Discord, I'm sorry about that. Light feint into heavy feint into light feint into kick to bleed. I have about 1 stamina left. You can see that it's brutal, but there you go, you can use that for you. Another one that I like to do is doing, this is sort of a mind game you can play on people, is letting your zone go. I'm rep, what am I, like rep 30 now? I can't see it, but believe me, I'm rep 30. You know, when they see, oh, let me turn that off actually. So if your opponent says, oh, I'm fighting a rep 30 Nobushi, he's gonna, you know, he's gonna cancel his zone after the first hit. Obviously everyone does. You can actually get the better of them by not cancelling. if I'm against someone that's a good player, for example, if I'm against someone who's like rep 12 and has about 20 reps overall, they'll know that Nobushi's cancel their zone, so they won't even attempt to parry that second bit. Sometimes it actually works really well, which is rather funny, because I've had times where I've thrown out a zone and they think I'm going to cancel it, so then they let their guard down and they go on the offensive, because I'm in sort of recovery frames at that point, I guess. I've had a peacekeeper that decided to jump towards me because she thought I was going to cancel the second part of my zone, but I didn't. And as she jumped towards me, I poked her with it, doing like, I think it's 21 damage. Yeah, 21 damage. It's pretty good damage just for letting that go. Obviously, against newer opponents, they're going to parry it, and if you're new to it, it'll, like, if you're like, let's say rep 2 Nobushi, people will be expecting you to let it go. So once you get past about rep 8, maybe rep 9, that's when this becomes really effective, because they're thinking, oh, he's quite a high level Nobushi, he's going to cancel his zone for sure. But you don't, and you sometimes do get the better of your opponent. You sometimes get the hit, sometimes you don't, sometimes they do parry it, sometimes they just block it. But if they just block it, that's when things get really awesome, because you can then, let's say he blocks that, and you know, next time it's like, oh, he's done, let's say 2 of them, so you do 2 in 1 round, oh, he's done 2 of his zones there, next time I'll parry it. Right? If they're actually reading, if they take note of what you're doing, you can use it against them. So next time when you zone, you can cancel it into a sidewinder, because they'll mess up the timing, or you can cancel it into a bleed, because it's different timings and it'll work. So for example, you can do that into that, and it'll work. You'll probably get a miss parry where they parry too early because they think it's the normal zone, but obviously you cancel it. It's a good mind game to play. I use it quite a lot. Now, another bit of mind games that we're going to be talking about is Cobra Strikes and just normal heavies. So this I use a lot. A lot of people used to, you know, obviously do this and just constantly like do wave dashing, as like I like to call it. I can't remember what YouTuber it was, but they sort of gave it this name, wave dashing, and such. And the thing is, I completely agree. I love the wave dashing technique. It's a smart idea and it worked really well for a little while, right? Obviously you just alternate from Cobra Strikes into Sidewinders, into more Sidewinders, into Viper's Retreat, into Cobra Strikes, you know, things like that. That doesn't work anymore, don't do that. The point I'm making is that a lot of people do this. Notice now I'm not actually dodging anywhere here. I'm staying still, hardly moving, and yet this is a dodge move. This move has the ability to dodge attacks. Look at the dodge on that. It's not very far, but look how far that is. Notice the difference on that compared to this. Extending that dodge is vital to survival, because you can dodge things like hugs, kicks, literally any CC move. Follow it up with that, because first off, they're going to be in recovery, you're going to get it. It's free 26 damage pretty much. It's a good move to initiate and no one really expects it. I've had other Nobushi say to me, how are you dodging with that move? And then I have to tell them, you're cancelling the dodge frames, you need to extend it. I've had a live stream where I've taught someone about Sidewinders and Cobra Strikes and how the dodge frames on that, he's cancelling. He needs to extend them, and this is something I still see Nobushis do. Extending these dodge frames, again, look how far I'm dodging there. And it's because I'm extending them to their fullest, which gives me the ability to dodge moves. Obviously doing it too late does cause you like a normal heavy like that. But again, you can just feint that. There is a way around it. If you accidentally do it, feint into guard break. You know, another mind game you could do. You could do that. And then let's say they start parrying it, you could do that into heavy feint guard break. Something like that. It's quite slow, but it works. And the final one that I love to do is very useful. If you do a front Cobra Strike, A front Cobra Strike has the exact same animation start up to it, so the actual dodge frame, dodge, if you're extending that dodge, right, the actual dodge is the exact same as a heavy. The indicator shows up at exactly the same time when you fully extend the dodge. That and that look almost identical to the enemy, considering the time they have to parry. The second they see that indicator come up, they have to try and parry it, so otherwise they're not going to parry the Cobra Strike, right? This is why this move works, because the timing of heavy and light is so different. By the time they realise that that's a heavy, it's already too late and they've already gone for a parry. Which means either A, you can guard break them, or better yet, just let it fly. Because it's a top heavy, the target is most likely already bleeding, because that's why they're going to try and parry this one, because you've done it before, and you're going to do 46 massive damage. It works so well, even though, yes, you can't dodge to the side anymore and do that because it's too slow. People recognise the difference. You can still do that into that, or better yet, just do one of these early on in the game. Do them consistently. Obviously don't do them all the time because they're easy parries, but if they're parrying the first one, or hell, just do one and then they'll most likely remember to parry it. Or if they parry the first one, just do that, because by the time they realise that it's a heavy, it's too late and they'll get hit by it. Sorry about my Discord, people keep leaving. Obviously all this together and you will have massive amounts of damage coming. Nobushi is a counter attacker that does a lot of damage. She's not so much speed anymore. She used to be speed, but now obviously people are getting used to her attacks and her lights can be parried quite easily, especially on PC. The last thing I want to talk about, which is sort of whiffing attacks on purpose. So whiff tack is what a lot of people call it. So as you can see here, I'm just going to stand here. We're equal distance apart, you know, we're quite far away. You can come out of hidden stance and do a backlight. There used to be a tactic of doing that, into a backwards light, into a kick. Unfortunately that was removed with Season 5 because, you know, they hate it for some reason. I don't really know why. It was a really good move. You could do that and then you'd be like, backwards light into thingy. Not that, but that pretty much. Which obviously had bait to it. You could do that into that, walk backwards, it would actually whiff the light, and then you could kick, for instance, or try and bait out a parry. Really cool, but unfortunately removed. The only one they've got now is going into hidden stance, into a backwards top light. You can't do a side, only the top. Which, if you have an aggressive opponent like Berserker or something, you know, because they have to stay up in front of your face, you can obviously just kick them after the whiff. There are other whiff techs, for example. If you're like this far apart, you could whiff your guard break, but it's kind of risky because sometimes they might whiff it, which is the key, but sometimes they'll grab you. It's just about messing around. So overall, that's sort of the end of everything I want to say. There are a couple other things that I'm not going to be mentioning, like option selecting, like I already said in this video. It's for a different time. This is more of a beginner's guide. Shows you everything that you should have from a beginning point of view, and things that I even keep now, a lot of it. Obviously read through your hero specifics, learn and understand what they mean. So cancel attack recovery, obviously I mentioned that, but I didn't really say it was that. It's the whole dodge recovery. Notice that I'm doing it really fast, so on and so forth, you know. Way of the shark, increased bleed, side slashes, hidden stance and all that. Zone attack with E, cancel it even with E, things like that you want to be using to your fullest advantage. This is everything from a beginner into like the intermediate, kind of getting to know everything. This is not the fullest potential Nobushi has. There's a lot more that you can do, especially with the zone and with heavy feints into hidden stance, but for now this is all you'll need to get started and have a good time with Nobushi. And yeah, I'll probably be doing more videos like this in the future for any updates that happens into Season 6, because obviously we haven't been given the change logs yet for anyone. We haven't seen anything that's happening with defensive meta, you know, or anything like that. I'll update you to see what happens with the new characters and if there's any different punishes for them because of unique traits they have. I'm not too sure, and I'll get that out to you. Obviously this is a season 5 guide and partly season 6. I'll update it if anything changes. I'm not going to do a really shitty outro, but I just, if you actually enjoy the guide, please subscribe. I do streams weekly or so. I've started doing them. They're actually kind of cool. I get to talk to you guys. Cheers for getting me to hit 160 subs. It means a lot. I know I haven't been active much, but it's because I just haven't been bothered to do anything. I haven't been, For Honor, you know, I haven't been feeling it. For Honor's been dead for a while, especially with like mid-season 5 being a bit of a dried lake. I guess that's a good analogy. It's sort of like, yeah, we all had this hype, but then it died out really quickly and the arena came out, which is why I've delayed the guide for quite a bit, is because I've been waiting for the arena to get certain scenarios and the actual statistics for this. So seriously, if you guys have been around for a while, you know that this guide has been long overdue, and I appreciate you guys sticking around for that. Anyway, I've got a season 6 opening coming out soon. I started working on it yesterday. I've only done like the first 15 seconds, 16 seconds of it, but I'm hoping to make it about 2 minutes long. It's going to be awesome. It's not even going to be based on Peacekeeper and Orochi in, you know, the new reworks. It's mainly just going to be Nobushi is still #1 player in the entire game. I mean, #1 character, obviously. And I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys later.